Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about our money stories. What is your money story? How has money treated you? And what has it caused you to think about it? This is so interesting, and if you stay until the end of the video, what I'd love to tell you is my money story, but it'll be at the end, so stick through. So let's think about our money stories and why is it important. So take your time, close your eyes, and just think about how money has affected your perspective today. How has your childhood or maybe your youth affected how you address or deal with money today? You can't say it's not important. You can't say it didn't affect you. Guys, we're a full culmination. We're a culmination of who we are because of what we've been through. So that's the reason why I want us to take time and think about our money story. Okay? Now, when was the first memory that you have of money? Think about it. When was the first memory you have about money? And what was that memory? What was the experience that you went through that crafted a picture in your head about money? Take a time, take a moment and do that, because I want you to begin to engross yourself in this process. So what narrative goes on in your head about money? A lot of questions today, guys. What narrative goes on in your head about money? And what's your money script? What do you think about money in your head every time that you have to spend money or when you make money? What goes on in your head? So I'm going to give you some examples. For example, if you have an early experience in your head, that will kind of formulate how you address money and how you address your spending. So I'm going to tell you my money story at the end, but I want to encourage us to think about other people that we know, like in the public arena. What is their money story? How has it affected them the way they are? I would love to know someone like Jeff Bezos. What is his money story, right? What happened to him in his childhood? How did he grow through money? Was he taught financial literacy? Was he not? These are all things that are so important. And these are the reasons why we get to keep money or why money just flies out of our hands. It's why we either multiply money, become money multipliers, or we become money suckers who just drain it and spend it. So which kind of person are you and why are you that person? So I mentioned the idea of thinking about certain people and how their money story has affected them. So the one person I want us to target this morning in our minds is King Charles. Let's think about King Charles and his money story. So he went to one of the best universities in the UK. He has not really had to work except as a working royal. He has millions of pounds in investments. The Duchy of Cornwall, I believe, is what his investment is called. And he's not necessarily had to work the way that most of us work from 9 to 5 to grow our money or to increase our ability to earn. So King Charles's money story is one of someone who was gifted by birth a certain amount of money that has enabled him to multiply that money, because when you have enough money, you learn how to multiply it. So he has learned how to multiply that money so that even if King Charles decides not to work for the next 10 years, he will not be broke. That's an interesting money story, and not many of us have that, but I wanted us to see one extreme. Okay, let's take it to another extreme. Let's think of someone like Oprah Winfrey. Grew up in Tennessee, off a dirt road, and very, very poor. Pregnant as a teenager, lost the baby, and then started thinking about how she could change her life. She loved to read. She grew up reading, and her reading took her to a radio station where she was able to read over the air. Grew from there into someone who was reading on the news. And then she betted on herself. She bet on herself. Let's correct that. She chose to invest in her own program, her own show, the Oprah Winfrey Show. And she realized that this was her strength. So she grew from nothing to one of the first Black billionaires in the world, female. So there's a story that I want us to capture. She went from working for money to growing to a place where she had a multi-million media network. Now she has OWN, so whether Oprah chooses to do a show or not, she will still get paid. And now she promotes other people on her network and she gets paid just for that space. She has gone from earning money, working for it, to multiplying money and growing it. So that's a crazy money story that many of us don't know. But take the time and go read up on these people and see the difference in how they have grown in their money story. Okay? Now, think about your money story. Did you ever have the opportunity to be taught about money? Did you ever play games like Monopoly when you were a child? Were you spanked for stealing money? Did you want to look like your friends who had money but you didn't? Or were you the kid who had money in school and you actually enjoyed and realized that money was a tool? We want to be able to understand our money stories, and that should be the part of what we're doing today. All right, so remember, everybody's money story creates a script in their head. So basically think about it this way. Your early experiences create beliefs in your head about money. And those beliefs in your head create financial outcomes, good or bad. So it's important that we pay attention to what goes on in our head about money. Because sometimes you've heard of people who win the lottery today and then 5 years later they're broke. How does that work? It's a mindset thing. There is a money mindset that allows you to multiply money or suck it away. And we need to be on the right side of that so we can actually grow our wealth. Now, what type of associations do you make with money? For example, if you grew up poor, if you grew up in lack, there's a good chance that you might think that money is something that you either strive to achieve, or money is something evil that people who were over you when you were poor affected one way or another. So think about it. Which way do you grow? Or which way did you grow in terms of your money? Did you think that people who had money were evil? Did you think that your dad's boss was a horrible man? Do you think that your boss is a horrible man? It's something to think of, right? But if you're hired to do a job, you're hired to do a job. You want to deliver it, right? That is the most important thing. Now, if you grew up middle class or wealthy, you need to ask yourself, do you think of money as a tool? Or do you think of money as a weapon to use against other people? It's easy to be in a situation where you actually believe either. So it's important that you take the time, understand where your mindset is, so that you can actually create financial outcomes that you want to achieve in a positive light. All right, so I promised that I would tell you my money story. And if you actually look at this video here, you can actually see my money story, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. But just to give you an idea, I grew up in Sierra Leone, which is one of the least developed countries in the world, unfortunately. And so wealth wasn't something that came to us. But as a Sierra Leonean, I was kind of a middle-class Sierra Leonean because my parents were both educated. So my dad did have an MBA and my mom was a nurse. So working class, middle class people, and they gave us the very best that we could have. However, the one thing that wasn't common was money being put into our hands. So my dad would, for example, give me money for transportation to get to school, but he may not sometimes give me money for food to buy at school. And so I had to figure out ways to make money or to actually gain enough money that I could actually eat. And I remember times when my friends' parents, who knew that my mom had traveled to the UK, would send me food for lunch or for breakfast. And somehow I hustled my way into making sure that I had someone who would send me breakfast, and that was my Auntie Mary. And then I had another aunt who would send me lunch, Auntie Millie. And these were all people who just thought of me, and I was able to hustle my way into making sure that I had stuff to eat. So we weren't poor, but I just think in many ways we were not taught about money, not taught how to grow money, right? And so I remember once, I must have been about 8 or 9 years old, the one thing that I knew how to do was save. And someone gave us, me and my sister, piggy banks, but they weren't in the shape of a pig, they were in the shape of a globe. So they were like blue and they had like pictures around it of the continents. And there was a slot at the top where you could put your money. And I remember every time someone gave me money, I would put it in this little slot box on my little globe, and I would save money. I remember once I had like 14 leones. Leones is the currency that we use in Sierra Leone. And I remember I had 14 leones, and that was a lot of money back in that day, also for me anyway. And I was so excited. And I remember my mom traveled for that weekend. She went up into a different area of the country. And I thought that was my time to shine. I wanted to make friends. I was just fresh from the UK, back in Sierra Leone. And I thought a great way to make friends would be to actually blow my money. So every day I would take 2 leones here, 4 leones here. My mom's only away for like 3 days. But I promise you, within that 3-day period, I blew my 14 leones. And I remember my mom came home, because she could always count on me to have money. She came home that day and she was like, "Oh, Ligia, can I just borrow a couple of leones so I could go to work or something like that?" And I remember telling her, I was like, "Oh, I don't have any money." She was like, "You what? You spent all your money in 2 days?" And I remember her response. She was so disappointed. I think I actually got a spanking that day. But what that did for me was that it created within me an awareness that savings was a buffer that you should have. That savings is something that you should always have to be able to depend on. And so I became a saver. What I didn't learn though at that time, probably at the age of 8, was investing. I didn't know how to invest or grow my money. So I'd leave my money in the bank and it would just depreciate really with time, especially if inflation was high like today. So that was how I grew up, and that's why saving has become so important to me. But I really want you guys to take the time and understand what has crafted your money script. So my money script became make sure you save all the time, but I didn't know what to do with the savings that I had. And so my mission in life has become to educate people and make sure that once they get to the point where they can actually save money, their next step is find out how to become a money multiplier and grow their money. So ladies and gentlemen, that's what I'm here for. As your money mentor online, my goal is to make sure that anyone who comes into contact with me can learn how to grow their savings. So first of all, you learn how to save, then you learn how to grow it. We want to not be money suckers, we want to be money multipliers. I hope that helps someone today. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, the numbers of this channel are growing, so I'm super excited about that. Please share this video with someone, like this video, and subscribe to this channel. And of course,